Hello and welcome to the Warhammer Film Club. I am joined today by a fantastic guest, Snipe from Snipe and Wib, and we're going to be talking about a couple of classic movies and where they intersect with the history of Warhammer and the history of our own hobbies and just things we tend to like about them. One is Monty Python and the Holy Grail, and the other is Terminator 2. Absolute classic. Can't wait to talk about that. Snipe, how are you doing? You all right?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. A couple of
Yeah,
great
me
movies.
too. Oh God, yeah, absolute classics. I cannot wait to just ramble like a lunatic.
Well, we're going to start with Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Came out in 1975. It was the first of the Monty Python movies. They'd obviously been dead successful on TV. Moved over into film with this, a surreal sketch comedy that is sort of framed around a quest for the Grail, but is just an excuse for absolute nonsense, right?
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, like watching it like as more of an adult, because I mean, obviously, like growing up a nerd, every other word was a Monty Python reference.
Sure.
Like, yeah, that was just. I'm pretty sure that's just how the majority of teenagers of our generation communicated.
Mm.
Was just I got better. Just all these quotes all the time. And just kind of like seeing it now and going, oh yeah, these are all literally just like individual sketches
Mm.
that they've kind of stitched together. Which again, I'm not like complaining about. I'm just like, oh no, yeah, this is definitely a bunch of people who are used to short form sketches.
Oh, yes. Yeah,
Good
for
to
sure.
know. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, but I think you're right. I mean, just in terms of its quotability alone is off the charts.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, so you'd seen the film before, and sort of like, have you seen it many times? Is it a classic that you've returned to, or was this the first time in a while?
Oh, it's the first time in quite a while because I mean, like with comedy movies, at least I tend to be kind of like I watch it once or twice and I go, yeah, because you know the jokes and you kind of go, okay, yeah, it's not going to get any funnier.
Sure.
I
Yeah.
mean, maybe it will, but yeah, no, I haven't watched it. Oh, probably over a decade, I think.
Right.
And I think, especially growing up, it was more kind of you watch it once and then you quote it for the next 17 years of your life. And it's
Yeah.
almost as if you're watching it, but not really.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I was the same. So it'd been a long, long time since I'd seen it, but given that it was, so it's regularly Monty Python just generally comes up in a lot of like interviews and conversations with folks who worked on Warhammer, largely because of that absurd sense of humor, right? And I think this is,
yeah,
this is this. It was in the 70s, late 60s. A lot of the creators of early Warhammer were watching this stuff on TV and then the films as they came out, and it seems to me like a lot of it deeply rooted itself into their senses of humor that is then in early Warhammer, early 40K. But yeah, it felt like a good time to revisit. And the Holy Grail, I think, is probably my favorite of the Monty Python films. I know Life of Brian is a big favorite for a lot of
oh yeah,
folks,
yeah.
understandably, because that's great as well. But I do love the sort of the knightly trappings and the sort of the medieval nonsense of Holy Grail as well. Like the
Yeah.
setting, I think, is really well done.
Oh, it is. It's like everything's just damp and misty, and I'm like, oh my God, that's just England. That's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because like seeing it before I came to this country, I was like, wow, that's just what life was like in the medieval times. And I come and I'm like, the first place I stay in is Nottingham, and I'm like, no, it's just like this. It sounds like, mud farmers or whatever, but yeah, no shade
Yeah,
on mud farmers, but
no, it's a good contemporary view of of England.
yeah, yeah, it's very interesting.
The
But
mud
yeah,
farmers, I think, were are fantastic because obviously they're talking about like the iniquity of that monarchy and social structures and all that, and all of that sort of political commentary is just comes out of the mouths of everybody who's just is exists in this in the world, and they just happily drop that kind of stuff anytime.
yeah, like this well-researched kind of like socialist anarchic theory, just kind of like blah. We're an anarcho-syndicalist collective, which means, and I'm like, okay, as an adult who's like, has to be who's a bit political TM, it's like, okay, so this is played for a joke, but that's actually like, wow, yeah, they are actually that's yeah, okay, fair enough.
Yeah,
What?
they nailed it, right?
Yeah,
I
and it
went
kind
totally
of
over my head at the time, but
yeah,
yeah.
no, and like I'm kind of like looking into like because I don't know much about kind of fantasy and stuff, but with 40k, like starting like in like like at the 80s and being basically a political critique in a lot of ways that they did things. I'm like, that's definitely influenced a lot of the creators of just kind of like, oh, let's just casually throw in like, classism or kind of like that kind of political kind of like criticism, I guess, of the monarchy, which, I guess back in the 70s in the UK was probably quite shocking.
Mm.
This is like, like Life of Brian, like there was literally like there were news panels talking about how very naughty they all were for doing like Life of Brian, and I was like look, watching this stuff as like growing up in like the 90s, just being like, that's okay, I guess that's what that was like,
Mm.
and that kind of like wanting to like, I don't know, just have something to say, I guess. So I think like you can see roots of that. Maybe I'm wrong, but like just like that kind of like political commentary in early kind of like 40K at least. And
I
well, I
think you're
mean, you
dead
still see
right.
it.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah.
100%. And I think that, yeah, it's a great shout because that is just there, right? It's just part of the comedy. And
Mm,
although they are, they might be making a reasonable point about something absurd that's happening, like it's because you are having proper political points in the midst of all of this nonsense and the
yeah.
surreal stuff. It allows you to ignore it if you want to and just enjoy the joke.
Mm,
The fact that a random mud farmer has these like very well constructed
yeah.
arguments
That's
and
something
is
that only
saying them to the
someone who went to
king.
university would really like,
Exactly. Yeah.
or Oxbridge, one might say,
Yeah,
would kind of
exactly.
have that
Right.
kind of understanding. And that, there's humor in that as well of like,
Mhm.
okay, this guy's like, they don't know what a king is, but they know what an anarcho-syndicalist compound is. And they know how to like democratically, vote in like a rota of different leaders. Like,
Yeah.
okay, there's the absurdity in that as well. It's like it's so multi-layered just for that. And I do see a few seeds of that kind of in 40K and like especially early 40K, which is so silly.
Yes,
It's like Inquisitor, Obi-Wan, Sherlock, Clouseau,
absolutely.
like okay, sure.
I mean,
you
that's
know,
very Monty, but like that feels like a
very,
character who would turn up in a Monty Python sketch.
very much
And
so, yeah.
similarly, like you say, the kind of broad satire of, well, we're going to make the ruler, the impossibly powerful ruler of this entire infinite imperium. They are literally a corpse on a throne, but
Mm,
they're incredibly powerful at the same time as being just this decaying, mess.
yeah, yeah,
So kind of that contradiction. That's all this kind of absurdity. That's definitely drawing
yeah,
on the same kind
yeah.
of stuff, I think.
And I do feel like English, like, because again, as an Australian, like growing up, we all also there's like that cultural kind of humor. Whereas I think around like that kind of time, the 70s and the 80s, it was very kind of like from me consuming media and comedies, especially from that time in like, from the UK. Like Time Bandits was another one that I liked, but it kind of made me feel weird, which
Hmm.
is what very deep English humor kind of does to someone who isn't English. So, like the ending of that where that like it's kind of a joke of like, oh, mum, dad, don't touch the thing in the microwave, and they both go and then explode. I was like, that's a sad ending, and like my mother would be laughing her ass off, and I'd be like, what? And like that, yeah, that kind of like, oh, the all-powerful emperor, he's so good, he's also a burnt husk on in a microwave. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that kind of like quite grim gallows humor as well.
Yes.
So it's yeah, and just like you just have to look for like I think a lot of Monty Python silly kind of like a lot of that kind of tone back in like the early orcs, like stuff for the orcs.
Right.
Like oh they have like hair squigs and stuff, and like red ones go faster. All these silly, just bananas kind of like things that are just so funny and bizarre that modern 40K is like they've kind of taken a lot of that lot
Yeah.
of it out, but there's still like kind of seeds there, and you're like, well, I liked it when they were really stupid. but
Yeah.
you know
Yeah,
but
I know
yeah.
what you mean. Yeah, I think Orcs is a great example actually, because there's like within their own society and within the various examples of those early Orcs, like there's a internal logic that
Mm,
makes sense. Like in sort of, in the Monty Python sketches, it makes sense within the confines of the sketch. But
yeah,
obviously, writ large, it just doesn't make any sense at all. And that's the brilliant contradiction of Orcs is that they
yeah,
they don't make any sense really when you sort
Yeah.
of zoom out, but when you're looking at individual moments or elements of them, they make a lot of sense and they're a lot of fun,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
great.
But they're also terrifying, gigantic murder machines that get bigger every time they like, fight real good. So it's like,
Sure.
oh, again, that contradiction of kind of like, oh yeah, these silly, goofy guys, they raised the planet. Oh no. They could raise one planet as a treat, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Were, were there any are there any like favorite moments from Holy Grail? Like are there any particular sketches or characters that really stuck with you?
Oh God, I'm trying to think because it's just I love that all kind of like s- style of writing jokes where it's just bam, 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 bam. It's like, oh, you didn't think that was funny? Guess what? We got another three jokes in like the next 30 seconds. You'll be fine. You'll find
Yeah.
something. The Frenchman, I think, is funnier with modern context because I didn't understand that the English and the French had a bit of an antagonism
Right.
beforehand. And I was like, oh, that guy's just talking funny. That's cool. I like that. The wedding is probably one of my favorites
Right.
because it is just like it's I think it's probably got like a little bit more of that grim kind of humor where it's like it's
Yeah.
not so much as losing a son as gaining a daughter. And oh, it's just that kind of it it's biting, but it's slapstick at this.
Yes,
It's such a beautiful balance
it
of,
really is.
and he's like, it's like, oh no, her late father, he's still alive. Oh, he's mortally wounded. He's fine. Like, so, and I honestly think one of the funniest things ever is Lancelot just charging, but they use the same thing. It's so
Incredible.
stupid, so simple, but it's the funniest thing ever, and I
I
don't
think
know
that's
why.
the funniest. Yeah, I
It's
completely
so
agree.
good.
It gets me every time. I went back and watched just that sequence again after watching
Mm,
the movie because it's so well done. And
it's
it has been done a
great.
thousand times since. I don't know if it had been done before, but it's executed so well.
Yeah,
And then
it's
yeah, the speed with the speed with which he then arrives, having run for hours. And
yeah,
then, I mean, there's almost, there's a sort of Space Marine-esque violence to his. This
yeah,
is Lancelot the Knight, like doing his duty, which turns out is literally just slaughtering wedding guests at
yeah,
random, and it just really does remind me of like, I guess this is what happens when Space Marines turn up and like go on a mission. They
yeah,
are just
yeah.
ruthless.
It's like, oh, yeah, you see a drop pod, that's what's going to happen. It's
Yeah.
like one of my favorite kind of like it's not even really like focused on that much, but like he's making his way through like the courtyard and there's like people dancing in a circle. He's like stabbing one, throwing like next one in the line, stabbing them. It's like a conveyor, like that's and it's only for a couple of seconds, but I'm like, that is so stupid.
Yeah.
It's incredible. What the hell?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's brilliant. It's so
Oh,
good.
it's very fun.
I like the setup and then the payoff of the swallows and like how fast a swallow can fly.
Yeah,
Obviously, it's
yeah.
just again, it's similar to the political views of the mud farmers, but the
Mm,
guards having a big debate about how
yeah.
fast a swallow could fly and could they carry a coconut and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And then later on, when you get to the Bridge of Death,
Mm.
there's the absolutely brilliant because that whole sequence with
Oh yeah.
this seer who feels to me like he is straight out of a Warhammer Fantasy role play adventure,
Yeah.
like a proper
Fully.
NPC there.
Yeah.
And
I
he's
can
asking the
guarantee you that
question.
made up a lot. That NPC would have made it into a lot of
I
games.
think so. I think
Oh
so.
God,
Yeah.
yeah.
And yeah, he's obviously asking the questions, and people are getting their own favorite colors wrong and getting rocketed
Yeah.
off, and then he doesn't know the flight speed of a swallow, and
I
it's just a great
mad
payoff.
respect to the bridge that will just yeet you if any it is indiscriminately yeeting you if you don't know. It's like, like, oh, when's the bus coming through? I don't know. Yeets literally anyone,
Yeah,
like
you're
even the
gone.
bridge keeper. And I'm like, you know what? I got to respect that.
Mm.
You've got a rule and you're sticking to it, and that's awesome.
I'm also a big fan of Tim the Enchanter.
Oh yeah.
Not just because his name, but I think the look of that guy. Like they
Oh yeah.
again, when you're looking at like 70s pulp fantasy fiction, sword and sorcery stuff, and then a lot of the games that inspired that
Mm,
kind of pulp fantasy inspired. That is a character who could easily be from
Oh
early
yeah,
fantasy
yeah.
stuff.
That's fully like a sorcerer from Death Trap Dungeon or whatever.
Yeah,
You know, that's like
absolutely.
fully old. Like that's just what. Like I remember like the shrubber Roger the shrub. Quaint, you know, with his like pointed hair, and I'm like, that's just a warlock. That's an old fantasy warlock, and it just nails it so well.
Yeah,
And it's so cool.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
brilliant. It's great fun. And then, I imagine that prompted countless quotes in schoolyards, the knights who say knee,
Oh
and
God,
their
yeah,
just general need for a shrubbery. It is
yeah,
fantastic, right?
yeah. No, that's like the fact it's just shrubbery. It's like dartboard with random like nouns on it. Just shrubbery. Gotcha. Love that. It's like to
Yeah.
this day I still go, oh please. And it's like, oh, cut down the mightiest like tree in the forest with a herring. No, oh please. And like, I still do that, and I just forgot where that was from because it just worms its way into your kind of like every day, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, because
I'd
it's like
love to
honestly,
I'd love to go back through, and I think I think we'd discover if we sat down and went through a load of old White Dwarfs and a load of the early books, whether that is Rogue Trader or probably the third edition of Warhammer
mm,
Fantasy and Wolfram. I think there's going to be way more quotes and
oh yeah,
references than we might remember.
yeah. I mean, oh, what is it? It's not. Is it the Creature Factory? I can't remember. I can't
The
remember.
Fiend Factory,
Fiend Factory. Yes, there we go. I could not
right?
remember it. I would not be surprised if the majority of the write-ins they got for that was just knights who say ye or something. You know, it'd be like slightly different, and they were kind of like, okay, you've literally just written, no, we're not doing that. You know, like loads of people just going, oh, I'm going to sneak in like you know the app. I can never remember the word like the names like the evil rabbit of because I want to say Chernobog, but it's not.
Oh
It's
yeah, no, I can't
similar.
remember the name either now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's this yeah, it's like a spoonerism of that. I can't remember.
Yeah, only I remember the Holy Hand Grenade, of
Oh
course.
yes,
But yeah,
of
which is
Antioch, which the Black Templars have in 40k, which is
sure.
like, of course they do. Of and yeah, sure. I think it's called like the Orb of Antioch or something, and it's just like
Right.
I know where you got that from. You're not fooling anyone, James Workshop. I know what you're about.
That's the kind of thing, though, right? There's going to be
Mm.
loads of those.
Oh
I
yeah.
think if you went with a fine tooth comb, and you probably wouldn't even need to be that fine tooth. But I
Mm.
think if you went through everything with this in mind, there's going to be a lot of Monty Python references and gags and just like allusions scattered all over the place.
Exactly. Like whether they realize it or not, because like there
Right.
was like again, it's so quotable and like you could just have it like, oh, someone at work was just saying a random thing of like, just a flesh wound or whatever. And like, you could just go and just like that and repeat it and not know.
Mm.
Cause it's just like, cause, oh God, that was just the nerd thing. It's just everyone could quote Monty Python, like one of the movies or whatever. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if people would just do that kind of stuff without even realizing.
Yeah.
Cause like, I was talking to Wib and I was saying the first time I heard what are you going to do? Bleed on me? It was in the video game Blood, which is on
Right.
the build engine. And then I saw like the movie and I was like, oh, they're not referencing Blood. This is 100 years old or whatever. I don't know. I was like 6 or 7. I can't remember. And I was just like, oh, okay. You know, you just kind of go, oh, or like, what was it? I think Wib said the first time he encountered the Holy Hand Grenade was in like Worms,
Right.
like where you had like and I'm like, yeah, I remember that. And then yeah, you see the movie and you kind of realize, and it's kind of just like little bits that you put together, and then you feel weird because you go, wait a minute. So everyone's just referencing these movies. Okay, I get it. You know?
Yeah, it is. It's so pervasive, and it's really because it was an era like pre-internet,
Mm,
and it really was this kind of like it's mimetic, right? It's memes that are passing
mm,
between people. Like you say, within nerd culture, it was this language. It was just part of the language, right? It was how
yeah,
you would
yeah,
get to know people in a store was because you could share that point of reference. So
yeah,
you'd know what the jokes were. And again, you might not even know the original source of the jokes. You just know that it indicates it's a joke that
yeah,
they're making, right?
exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, it really was so powerful. And it's interesting to see how that may have shifted now through the internet. And, now you've got visual memes and audio memes and like literally reproduced jokes. You can show a clip, a
Mm.
gif of a thing. Maybe it's lost some of that power now for certain generations. You know, for whatever the equivalent would be. Obviously, we're now however many years, 50 years since this film came
Oh
out.
God.
So I'm sure there's some other very influential sort of
Mm.
quote generating movies from the early 2000s that school kids would all have been.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, to be fair, now, to put my boomer hat on for a minute, now all the kids are quoting like my nephew the other day. What did he quote? I can't remember what it was, and I was like, James, what is that? And he's like, oh, I heard it on Roblox, and I'm like, and it was from like an old movie or something. I can't remember what it was, but say it's like, oh, what did it have to be snakes or something? And I was like,
Hmm.
where'd you hear that? And he's like, I heard it on Roblox. I'm like, okay. So he thinks that's from Roblox,
Right,
you know.
right.
So yeah, it's again, it's that kind of like not knowing where it's from
Yeah.
kind of thing. So it's kind of like, oh, all right, well, but yeah, like everyone kind of like, especially because back in the day, when this movie came out, it was if you wanted to see a movie, you had to go and sit in a room and watch it with other people, and you had to wait like 20 years before VHSs were a thing, and even
Mm.
then, it was kind of like I remember when a movie would come out, it would take like a year and a half to get them all made and then distribute. It would take forever, but now it's like, oh, this movie's come out, and you can just watch it at home
Yeah.
on your own, and it's like we've kind of like been separated a lot, like like talking to Wib because he's watching The Simpsons now because he was like the older ones,
Right.
and it was like back when that was on TV, nobody would be outside. Everyone would be huddled around the TV watching The
Appointment viewing,
Simpsons.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, and it was like you were together, and now it's just kind of like, yeah, I watch it. I watch it on my own or whatever when I can be
Mm.
bothered. It's like, which is like, it's good because it's convenient, but also I think there is a bit like there is something lost because there's kind of from not much being distributed to be like movies or whatever TV shows to everyone can make a TV show or a movie now if they want, and it's
Yeah.
kind of like it's so I don't think that there'd be anything that has that kind of blanket kind of you say something, you quote Life of Brian, or he's not the Messiah, he's a very naughty boy, and like everyone your age up gets what
Yeah.
you're saying and knows what it is, and that's just not really a thing anymore, which is
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sure it has like good points, but
It's an interesting balance, isn't it? Yeah, because you have Roblox and Fortnite doing this kind of meme laundering where they're just
good
like,
word for it, yeah.
it becomes like a new thing that
Mm.
is from that, even though there's however much history to it, which I guess you could say Warhammer was doing right early days, and it was doing it
Yeah,
to
yeah.
fantasy stuff. It was laundering all of these ideas and turning them into something slightly new and kind of putting a
Mm.
new polish on it. But yeah, I agree, and I think that there is a trade-off between convenience and some kind of shared experience, shared
Mm.
timeline,
Yeah,
where yeah, and it's very easy to sound like I myself
yeah.
becomes like I'm now like don't want to get too drowned by the nostalgia of all of this
Mm.
stuff because it was inconvenient and it was frustrating and whatever.
Yeah,
But there is
yeah.
something cool about everybody enjoying something at the same moment in time.
Mm.
Maybe the nearest equivalent now is a YouTube premiere. So it
Yeah,
drops at
maybe.
6 p.m. and that's when everybody's watching this YouTube video for the first time.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's bizarre how quickly it's kind of changed.
Mm,
Like, because it just kind of like started in like I guess like the mid 90s or something, and then just kind of like 2000s accelerated it into like suddenly everyone has the internet and everyone's like people were downloading movies and stuff like that, and doing and you get DVDs, and it's and then TV's borderline become irrelevant now, and
mm,
it's because everything's on demand, and if you're like an OAP, you might have a TV license and be like, well, I like to watch my stories or whatever, but it's just not something you really do anymore, and it's like, yeah, no, that kind of like showing up to like a movie theater like dressed as Darth Vader or whatever,
yeah,
it's like that's kind of, it still happens, but it's not really such a gigantic cultural kind of event, I
yeah.
guess is the words I'm trying to look for. But yeah, like I still love it when they like because I went and I saw Predator with it was an anniversary like re-release, like
Right.
they like showed it in like one cinema, like one, and it was like that is such a beautiful experience sitting in a room full of other people who are unhealthily obsessed with the movie,
Mm.
just enjoying it. And it's like, oh, that's so good. I was like, I saw when Terminator 2, I saw that when they popped that in cinemas, and it was in 3D, which I was like, well, I literally would see it if it was like, oh yeah, we're showing that at the cinema, and we're going to be pouring like baked beans on you every 10 minutes, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll still go see it. I'm going to be mad about the beans, but I get to watch Terminator on a big screen, so I guess that's fine. I've just compared like watching a 3D movie to being having cold beans poured on you every 10 minutes.
I don't think it's, that's not a bad comparison for me, but
Yeah, no, especially because like half people can't see it anyway. But yeah, no, I could rant and rave about basically be a boomer for a long time. So
well, I mean, on this conversation of technology, and you just mentioned it there, Terminator 2. So this is
mm.
the second film that we did in our double bill. This one, yeah, well, tell us about what's your relationship with Terminator 2? What, like, where does it stem from?
Stems from early childhood. I literally could not tell you it was the first time I saw it because it was a long, long time ago. Because I think it came out in 92, 91, 92. I can't remember
91, I think.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, so I was like a wee babby at that point. I think it was probably like mid to late 90s. I kind of saw it. And that was the first one. That was what everyone saw when you're a kid. You saw the Terminator 2, because Terminator 1 I didn't see until I was like a teenager.
Hmm. Yeah.
Because I was like, oh yeah, I guess I need to see that. Oh, Arnie's a bad guy. What? And it's like the complete reverse of how it was like intended to play out.
Sure.
And it was extremely dated. Like, oh my God. And so it was like definitely something that I was, as an adult, was kind of like, okay, I'm gonna like I love it and I can appreciate it, but Terminator 2 is ironically timeless.
Yeah.
Like, everyone's like costumes are very neutral. There's like, a leather jacket and a t-shirt is not going to ever look out of
Mm.
sync with the fashion, because there's always someone just wearing jeans and a t-shirt.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing it and just being absolutely in love with it, because I was still am big fan of like Arnie. I mean, strongman in general. Got my UK strongman shirt on. What I realized before joining the call, I was like, I'm going to rave on about Arnie and old action movies, and I'm wearing a strong. Okay, I am a type of person, and like just everything about it is like, Sarah Connor, absolutely iconic.
Mm.
Like played by Linda Hamilton, amazing character. The effects still look pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Even on the first one, because like there's a big thing on puppeteering, and like, is it Stan Winston did the effects, like absolute legend. And like I remember, like I till this day it still scares me watching in T1 when she's crawling towards the like out of the hydraulic press and the Terminator's like dragging itself. That still frightens me till this
Incredible.
day.
Yeah.
And it's like, if it had been CGI, like, not like, I'm throwing shade at George Lucas basically, I would have been like, yeah, ooh, scary.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, like the fact that James Cameron was like, let's make a whole ass movie to test the T1000 liquid metal effects is like, that's something that you can only do if you are James Cameron.
Yeah.
There's no other way you could have done that. And like the little bits, and like I am insufferable about Terminator 2, which is why I chose my absolute favorite movie of all time. And every time I watch it, I find something new to just gush about.
Sure.
Like I was saying to Wib, because I was like, oh, I've got to watch the Holy Grail and Terminator 2, and he looks at me and goes, do you even need to watch Terminator 2? And I said, well, yeah, I guess. He was like, when does the asylum escape happen? I was like, 40 minutes in. And I checked and I was 5 minutes wrong. And I was like, okay, maybe I don't need to, but I want to.
Which is the sign of a perfect movie,
Yeah.
right? And because you do want to watch it again. Because similarly, I've had a long history with Terminator 2. We used to have, so my brothers were big into films, and they had the T2 tin. It was like a boxed version.
Oh, like the metal box kind of.
Yeah, and it had a making of featurette cassette in it as well.
Wow.
It had a little book of like stills that you could look at. So it was always this like revered artifact in our house. And I had a similar experience where, you watched, at some point you've watched T2 and you don't remember when the first time you saw it was. So it's always been,
Mm,
and then you go back and watch Terminator 1 and you're getting it in reverse. Like you say,
yeah,
you're getting all of those surprises, but the wrong way around, which is
yeah,
fascinating, really.
exactly. And like just the little, as like watching it, because I'm like, oh, I'll watch them this time and I'll pretend that I've just seen the first one and I've never seen this. And like all of the incredible tiny details that they do, I don't want to sound like an absolute insufferable dick with like the mise en scène and like just the I think props, like the like setting designers need more recognition, and like the what is it, the costume designer stuff, like that kind of stuff is so incredibly important, especially like you look at like the certain things, like the way because the fan community called the T1000 Austin because that's what it says on his name tag.
Right.
Like you see how he's smiling, like the way he's introduced, you see him like kill the cop in the beginning and you go, oh, okay, he's punched him, and it's like, no, he's obviously like shanked him, and you can kind of low down in the mix there is like the snicked noise that
Mm,
it does, and like just the bizarre way it interacts with the cop box, like searching for
sure.
John, which is like from a cut scene, which I'm glad they cut it because it looked goofy as hell, where the T1000 goes to John's foster parents' house. He impersonates Janelle and everything, and then he's like groping the wall. It's so weird. He's like,
I quite like all that
ooh,
stuff. It's
it's
weird.
creepy, but it's a bit silly at the same
I
time.
know what you mean. I know what you mean. But like, because he puts his hand on top of the computer, doesn't he, in order to
Yeah,
like
and then kind of
learn how to
it's
interact
like,
with it and
oh, and
stuff.
then he's kind of messes with it, and then yeah, and that's where, because it's like behind a poster, it's like he's like dug out the drywall and put like letters from mum who is currently interned at Pescadero, and it's like,
Oh, yeah.
I think it's scarier and more interesting if the T1000 just knows,
Sure.
because it's what I love about the Terminator, like 1 and 2. I'm not a massive fan of the rest of them; they're fine, but 1 and 2, that's for me.
Hmm.
They're sci-fi horror
Oh yeah.
because the Terminators are this, yeah, it's like Kyle Reese in the first one. It's like it literally, it doesn't get tired, it won't stop until you're dead.
Yeah.
It's just constantly, what it's the snail that kills you instantly, but it's Arnold Schwarzenegger. you know and it's like that's such an underplayed part of the movie. It's like even
Yeah.
in the second one, you have a lot more kind of like, there's like hints of boy and his dog kind of thing with John and Uncle Bob's T800,
Hmm.
and like it's that kind of thing. So it's like you've got it's done in a really good way of like human element, teaching about like teaching a Terminator how like the value of human life and stuff, while the
Sure. Yeah.
T1000 is just like dabbing in a cop car behind you know, and just like, and like the little bits, like Robert Patrick absolutely slayed it with well, and Arnie as well, because they would off time go to firing ranges to learn how to fire guns without flinching and reload them without looking,
Right.
so that they looked more like machines would, because a Terminator wouldn't need to look at a gun to so
Sure.
they
Yeah.
they did that. And like when they're fighting and stuff, they don't emote.
Sure.
And Robert Patrick did a thing where when he's basically in Terminator mode, he doesn't blink on
Right.
screen. You might not notice that, but he doesn't.
Right.
And
No.
then because when he's talking to Todd, it's like, hi, are you the legal guardian of John Connor? And he's like blinking and smiling and being charming. And then when the switch is flicked in the arcade,
Hmm.
he's just and just doesn't blink. And I'm
Sure.
like, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Like just the little details,
Yeah.
and you know, you see like I did that beautiful moment, which I wish I could go back in time and see it in the cinema for the first, and not have any idea about Terminator 2 and just have seen the first one, to be in the cinema when in that corridor the T800 points his like shotgun at him and he says get down.
Hmm.
I would do so much to be in that situation, just to hear the audible like like what, and then you
Yeah.
see that, like the big
Yeah.
the big shot Well, no, it
It's
doesn't shoot anything, but
it's
yeah, it's
played
just
so
like,
well. Yeah,
wow.
yeah,
Yeah,
it
just
is played so well.
incredible.
I mean, I'd seen a thing about Robert Patrick learning to breathe through his nose when he ran, so that
Oh,
he never
yeah.
was like gulping air
Yeah,
down, even though he was running super fast.
he was a track runner
Right.
in high school, and the funny thing about that is like, yeah, he learned to kind of do that so he didn't look like he was exerting himself. But also in the motorcycle chase scene from the mall, he kept catching the stunt rider. He was just too fast and he kept catching them, and they were like, shit, what do we do now? Like he's like, in the interview, he's like, yeah, well, I caught the little shit. Judgment Day happens. What do you want? It's just like, wow, that would have been a way shorter movie. Okay,
Yeah, job
cool.
done. Yeah.
Mm.
But yeah, it is. I mean, it's amazing, and I think going back to that point you were making about it being horror, I think Terminator One is just a pure horror film essentially.
It is purely a
It's
horror film.
Michael
Yeah,
Myers and Halloween, but with a
yeah,
robot instead of a
yeah.
supernaturally powerful man, and it's
Mm.
the same kind of that sort of stoic's not quite the right word, but very deliberate and slow and
Mm.
purposeful, and it will always come and get you.
Yeah, I mean,
It
I think that's just like the fact that they made it a machine was genius because
mm,
yeah, it's especially around like that kind of time where computers were something that nobody had. That
mm,
was not something, like that wasn't a common thing. So it was kind of playing on that fear of this new technology kind of sneaking in, and like all the whole kind of like whataboutism and like where does this lead, and that like I think they kind of incorporated that very well.
mm.
And yeah, like the whole just Sarah just being a normal woman, and then suddenly, oh, there's like 10 other like there's like a bunch of other women with your exact name who've just been like executed basically. Like that is pure horror.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's terrifying. It's amazing. And like, there's like the what I always really liked is because they tell like what she does is what you should do if you think you're in danger. She goes to a crowded place, she calls the cops, she's like, she's doing everything she should, and the fact that it does not matter
Mhm.
it's chilling. And
Yeah.
it just walks in and pulls a gun on her in the middle of a club. Like, wow, okay. And then they do the classic horror thing of, when they get caught by cops, and the T-800 is like chasing them, and then they turn around and the car's empty. It's like the classic kind of like horror slasher disappears.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like that's and that, again, there are still elements of that in the second one with the T-1000, but it is kind of like it isn't as horror, obviously, because it is, it's about it's a human interest story.
Yeah.
Like John just kind of
Well,
basically having therapy.
sure, yeah.
The whole
I
like
think
movie.
there's an interesting thing about the nature of the horror in the second one, because it is a very up close and personal slasher serial killer horror in the first one. In the second one, it kind of zooms out to be this kind of existential horror. Like this
Mm,
is the end of humanity, and that's really hammered home. We obviously get like Sarah Connor's visions of or
yeah,
nightmares of this future. But
they
there's also
oof.
like an institutional horror as well, isn't there? Because like you say,
Yeah.
in the first one, they go to cops and they're not able to help, but they're still good guys. In this
Mm,
one, the cop is the actual bad guy that you need to
yeah,
run away from.
completely
Same with the
subverts it.
hospital as well. Like the
Yeah.
asylum is it's they are bad guys. They're
Mm,
not there to help you at all
yeah,
in the
it's
second
yeah.
one.
And you can kind of like look at that of like what was drilled into kids at the time, stranger danger, you can always trust the police officer,
Mm,
you can always do that. And like how like just the simple fact that John is a little hellion saves his life. Like the fact that
sure.
I love his little ginger like mullet buddy Tim
Yes.
so much. Like, because if he'd gone, oh yes, officer, he's right, bang, okay, great, Skynet's won, good on you, nice one, idiot. And it's like Cameron, I think he did say that he did want to subvert it because kids are always told if you ever have a problem, you need to talk to a police officer, or and you're supposed to trust doctors, and they just want to help you. And it's like that's yeah, and we're shown that they are actively harming people.
Yeah.
It's and like it's just it turns it on its head, and it's very fun. Like the big scary biker is the one, not person but thing that can help them.
Sure.
And it's like that's really, and that, like, I I saw, I can't remember what video it was, but I saw a video by a person who was talking about how if Terminator 2 was released now, everyone would decry it as woke and say it's terrible.
Mhm.
But it's like, okay, but if you look at like the elements here, again, cops are the bad guys, the medical professionals, that are treating Sarah are the bad guys. The people who are basically just trying to advance human technology are the people who literally kill the majority of human life.
Absolutely, yeah.
And the people who save it and the people who care, they are, there's a bunch of like law breaking Mexicans, and like a little delinquent kid and his mum who blew up a computer factory, and it's
Mm.
like, this is just the opposite way around of any other movie doing this. That's, it's kind of very interesting as well, because
Yeah.
obviously, you sit there and you go, well, obviously if someone says, oh, I'm from the future, so I need to explode this ATM, you'd be like, I don't think that's true, but okay. But yeah, and like, I love the choice to make him a cop was so genius. I love that. It's just, it's so interesting because, like, it's interesting also seeing the kind of society, like the societal kind of idea of what a thug is, I guess. So in the first one, he was dressed up as like a punk, which is very funny because, like, you see that a lot, like, Back to the Future
Mm.
2, where Griff and his gang are all punks, and it's like, those actually weren't the people you had to worry about, but okay.
Mm.
But that was just what at the time people were like, oh, if you're dangerous, you dress like a punk or whatever. And
Yeah.
then you get to Terminator 2, and you've got a biker, that's intimidating, it's scary. And you have John, who's got, like, a little alt haircut, and he's wearing a Public Enemy shirt, and he's a little shit, and
Yeah.
it's, again, yeah, subverting that kind of thing. And just, it's so, I think the T1000 in ways is so much more frightening than the T800 from the first movie, because it's like, I don't know, because I know it's like supposed to be like a prototype, but it's like the fact that it seems to have understood a bunch of more human social cues
Sure.
makes it so much more insidious and so much more frightening.
Yes.
But like, I guess that's more kind of like frightening to more of an adult mind. I get, if that's making any sense, and kind of like
It
psychologically,
does,
because
yeah.
as a kid you go, big things scary. So obviously Arnold Schwarzenegger is about, he's about the size and breadth of a bus, so that's scary, especially if he's coming at you with, like, guns and stuff. But then there's, like, the T1000 that can kind of just sneak in and infiltrate perfect. Like, it is exactly what
Yeah.
Skynet would want in an infiltration unit,
Yeah.
and it's like, that's,
Well,
oh
which was always a fun aspect of, like, the T800s, where it's like, oh, they're the infiltration unit. They're the ones that are supposed to sneak in, and it's the
yeah.
biggest man you've ever seen.
This is the thing. It's like, okay, so in the nuclear war ravaged future, who is providing these people with enough calories and protein to get this big? They stick out
Yeah.
like a sore thumb. Like, T600 having rubber skin would be less weird than someone the size of Arnie walking into your, like, bunker going, I am starving.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
what are you eating, dude? Where are you? You need 6,000 calories a day to maintain that physique. Where are you getting them, dude?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh
But yeah,
god.
there is that distrust. I think, I mean, it's kind of through a lot of James Cameron's work. I mean, even up to obviously Aliens, it's, the corporation.
Mm.
It goes all the way through to Avatar more recently,
Mm.
where
Yeah.
the humans are the bad guys
Yeah.
again. The actual sort of institution and the corporation that wants to ravage the world of Pandora. That they are the bad guys. They're the ones who are doing all the bad stuff. So you're kind of, he does like to sort of say, oh, actually, it's not the people you expect. You might think
Mm.
you're supposed to be on this guy's side, but really, it's the person who's the outsider who is the goody.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, I
Yeah.
mean,
No.
what's your what's it's not a perfect segue into 40K, but like, what's your sort of feeling on the relationship between Terminator and 40K?
Oh, I mean, apart from the fact that, oh my god, yes, obviously they were just like, Terminators are cool. Let's make Necrons.
Yeah.
Um, it's I can't blame them. I'd do the same. Like, I do, like, so much of, like, older Necron kind of stuff is just, oh, it's just the the opening scene from the second movie,
Yeah.
where like it's just a bunch of the combat chassis just kind of like firing laser guns at everyone. Um, and the whole "I'll be back" rule, and it's like, oh, I
Yes.
see what you did there. Very nice, very
They
nice.
weren't even trying to hide it back then.
No, and like to be fair, like more power to them, because like that's fully something I would have done. Like I've recently wrapped up a game of Star Wars Fifth Edition D&D,
Right.
and it was like every session it was a like, how do we sneak in the term "I've got a bad feeling about this," like every single time. And it's just, it's silly and it's fun, so I don't blame him for that. But like, it's kind of cool how you see them evolve, and they kind of just add like the Egyptian things, so they're like, they've got a bit more, ironically, a bit more meat to them. They're a
Mm,
bit more of a unique entity. But like, yeah, the whole, what I loved about Necrons is, yeah, they have the whole kind of like T800 like chassis just coming towards you. Not that, yeah, they're slow, but they aren't going to stop.
mm,
And if they do, they'll be back. That kind of thing. And it's like the whole like the big war and everything is like the Men of Iron kind of, even though that's from Dune, but it's still very much like, okay, yeah. And the whole anti-AI stuff, and it does seem like that did inspire a good chunk of it,
yeah.
which I'm not complaining about it. I'll talk about Terminator. I don't care. Yeah, do
I
it, go
mean, that's
for it,
actually
love
an
it.
interesting point in the Necrons you could have explained the Necrons as being that same artificial intelligence from an earlier time
Mm,
in the Imperium's history. But they never, as far as I know, they never really went that route, did they? They were always like some kind of eldritch other,
yeah.
something from elsewhere in the universe that's
Mm.
ancient and still happens to be around. At least that's my sort of recollection of those
Yeah,
early.
no, that's because I know that oh, it's not, is it Catan? I can't remember. It's like,
Yeah, the Catan
I
were they were the
there were
gods.
the gods that kind of like, because the thing was like, oh, your planet's busted. What if we put you in Terminator? Then Neville was like, Terminator 2 rules, let's do it. And then they were ultimately betrayed and turned into literal machines of war, or whatever.
Sure,
Um,
yeah.
I'm not really up on my Necron lore, especially not the modern stuff. I'm just like, that now they have cool hats. I love that for them. Um, but yeah, it's like, and I think that's a real fun take on it. Kind of have that kind
Mm.
of thing going on with like the old gods and things like that. But yeah.
There is, I mean, I think it's quite interesting when you think about. So, as much as obviously the Necrons, they definitely are. Sorry, we're going to
Oh
do
yeah,
Terminator for
fully.
40K, but they also seem to have taken the opportunity to say, right, let's do Undead from Warhammer
Mm,
Fantasy for 40K. And that first iteration was just, well, they're just skeletons. There's loads of
yeah.
different types of skeleton. And
Mm,
then as Undead evolved in Fantasy,
mm,
and that's when you got your Tomb Kings and your Vampire Counts, it
yeah.
then feels like they were like, oh, well, Tomb King's actually pretty cool.
Yeah,
And
we
I'm not
can
sure on the
mix
timeline of
that.
it, but yeah, they
Yeah,
were like,
yeah,
well, maybe 40K's Undead, the
yeah,
Necrons, should also be Tomb
yeah,
Kings, and how do we then do that? And then they
yeah.
obviously sort of, came into
Mm,
a more modern take on the
yeah,
Necrons, which I think is very fun. And like you say, there's so much more character and interest
yeah.
to explore there because it's better, I think, when there are differences within the faction, and the faction can be at
Mm.
loggerheads like itself is
Oh
always
yeah,
good.
definitely. Yeah, it's always fun. It's always fun to have some kind of like dramatic conflict, like something that kind of gets you thinking about, like, different, whatever it is. It's interesting. And yeah, it's like like, because Necron lore has changed. I mean, like, obviously the Terminator, the Chaos Android in Space Crusade was just straight up a Terminator.
Right.
And
Yeah.
like, it's like, that's just a proto Necron.
Yeah.
And like, awesome. But yeah, and it's kind of like, okay, yeah. And then going, I'll add some Tomb Kings to it, make it kind of give the more kind of existential, like, dread of, like, yeah, undeath, and that kind of thing with it as well. So
Mm.
I love seeing, you see the time like this, how 40K, and like how 40K has come along, where you sit there and go, okay, so you straight up stole this from Dune, cool. But this is how you built on it and changed it and kind of taken that idea, and this is what it's ended up as.
Mm.
you know and it's really interesting to see that kind of growth, and the kind of, okay, well, we could just make it a 1-1, Emperor of Dune, but what if we did this differently?
Yeah.
And that, and I'm like, I think that that's when it becomes amazing. You
Yes.
know, it's
Yeah,
like
I
when they
agree.
start getting their own kind of stuff in it.
Yeah, because I think it's always been very clear that Warhammer Fantasy and 40K are they are like borrowing lots of different things or inspired by, let's say, lots of
Yeah,
different things. But then it's more, they've become more than the sum of their parts. In the way
exactly.
in which those different things were put together and then explored, and then the games that were released and the armies and all that sort of stuff has then it is this kind of gestalt entity that has grown into something new, which is
Yeah,
fun and great. And it's nice to see that there's still the opportunity for inspirations to come in and for them to be like referencing stuff, whether that is referencing older stuff or
yeah.
looking outside of 40K and Warhammer and Age of Sigmar as it is today, and still grabbing things. I'm still in favor of that. I think it is cool to still
Yeah,
go like,
yeah,
oh,
no,
well, that's a cool
absolutely.
idea. What's the Warhammer version of it?
Yeah, no, I think like a lot of people kind of just, I think a lot of people can be quite down on that kind of approach. But the thing is, like, that's just how we create things
Mm,
as you know, to not get too philosophical, but as humans, that's how we create things. We take what we've experienced and we turn it into something slightly different. And sometimes people turn it into something that is exactly the same, but then eventually turn it into something different. And it's like, yeah, like you know, like we are the sum of our parts. we
mm.
we are we are the sum of our experiences and everything we like and dislike, and that shapes what we do and how we act and how we create. And it's so obvious when it comes to like 40K. It was just a group of nerds just sat in a living room in Nottingham eating pizza going, what if Judge Dredd, what if that was a planet in our like sci-fi game? And everyone's going, draw it. You know, it's just that kind. And then, you know, and now we have what we have today, and that's incredible. Like the growth involved there. Just a bunch of nerds.
I
I'd say
love
is
that
a nerd.
idea. Yeah, they just sort of sat in a circle and what like someone is saying, what if Judge Dredd? And there's a round of applause. Someone else is,
Yeah,
what if Dune?
yeah.
There's
And they're
another
like, oh,
round.
excellent. It's like,
But then
and
they
then yeah,
found, yeah, they found the way to put those very different things together and for then something else to emerge from the combination, the sort of
yeah,
synthesis of it. And I think that is it's the sort of prismatic element of like human creation, I think, isn't it? All the different bits of light are coming in, and then they can either break apart and come out in different spectrum, or they can merge into a single thing that works together as well. Which I think it is innately part of that the human creative process, I think,
mm,
adds so much to all of those experiences to turn them into, a new thing. Is
yeah,
great. Yeah.
exactly. And I think also kind of building on some that's like someone else's work or an existing thing that you have a lot of love for can give you the confidence to add your own spin to it as well.
Mm.
So, you know, like in the art community, tracing is frowned upon, but I'm like, okay, no, what I think should be frowned upon is I've traced this drawing and I put it online and go, I drew it. It's like,
Right.
don't do that. That's the bad part. But tracing stuff is actually pretty good for you creatively, because if you follow a line with a pencil and you go, I don't understand why that line is there. But if, you know, as you're doing the motion, your brain is kind of figuring it out. And then you go, oh, okay, because this shape is more like this instead of like a weirder shape I was drawing it or whatever, if I'm
Mm.
explaining right.
You're right.
But like and I think that like copying, I think, is an inherently important part of creation, like creating things regardless of what you're doing. Obviously, you don't just like, you know, like Control C, Control V, I made this kind of stuff. But, you know, the fact that you look back at 40K and you can have a good laugh about like how it's just like, this is literally just Dune. This is literally just this, like Warhammer Fantasy. This is literally just everything Michael Moorcock's written. Okay. You know, it's like you can have a joke about it, but again, like you say, they kind of like they've thrown everything, all of their influences, everything they like into a big pot and then gone, and that's bolstered them enough creatively, at least in my brain, that they've gone, oh yeah, but like, you know, we've got the Arbites, which, you know, we have Planet Judge Dredd, that's cool. But what if that was connected to this? And then they puzzle and go, well, how would they do that? And then they kind of start theorizing because they have that kind of that confidence about talking something talking about something that they love, and it
Yeah.
kind of helps them come up with more unique ideas, which again, you grow out of the kind of copying. If I'm making sense, that's kind
I
of
think
how I
so.
see the
Yeah.
process.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think that's the right way to. It is a process, isn't it? It's a step in a process. Is to take a load of things that you like and try and turn it over in your mind, or even make it part of your next creation, in order to understand it, so that you can then, develop from it and evolve from it, and
Yeah.
emulate and bring your own elements to it. And I think that's absolutely what 40K has done over
Mm.
however many years. And that is also, I think, why you get some quite clear sort of like strata in the history of 40K. Like you can see the different periods of it where certain things were more influential and certain approaches and certain designers had more sway. And it was, their version of 40K. And then it changes again to someone else's, and it changes again based on the customers or the business conditions. So you kind
Mm.
of see all of these different factors produce a 40K for its time in a way,
Yeah. Yeah,
which is quite
exactly.
cool to follow.
Yeah, no, it's like, again, it's the whole like going back to just the design of the T800, like
Mm,
as being like thuggish or like, a biker or a punk. And it's like, well, that is a reflection of the societal views at the time, is people going, oh, if you're a punker, then you're a bad guy. So, let's do that. And it's like, yeah, you see that in certain kind of things of 40K, which whether people realize they're being influenced or not, that is something that
mm.
will influence what you create. And it's just, yeah, it's like a almost like, mini time capsules, I suppose, kind of like looking at those kinds of things, and trying to kind of yeah, trying to see just that. Again, it's not going to be the entire thing of like, punk bad, but it is kind of like you'll see a certain turn of phrase or something
Mm.
which would just be in the background at that point. It's like that's really interesting to see um how, and seeing where that kind of changes. And yeah, like basically I'm repeating your point but worse, I think, so.
No, no. So, I mean, one thing I'm really interested in, actually, just thinking about Cameron's work on Terminator 2, is, and I don't know if he's said this anywhere, but it feels like maybe Westerns have played a role in his conception of T2, because you've got, like, we're talking about the biker and the sort of bad guy, and that setup is so like it's a cowboy, right?
Well,
It is.
I mean, the T800 is the man with no name,
Right. Exactly.
so.
Yeah, there you go. Right. 100%. Right. 100%.
Yeah,
And yeah,
yeah.
he's up against a lawman. He's
Mm,
he's riding his metal horse, and
mm,
he's like all of the. It's a cowboy bar that he goes
yeah,
into at the start, which we didn't talk
a
about that
weird.
scene, but that is an amazing scene. It's so good.
I love that intro because, like, I don't know if you've ever seen a behind the scenes thing, but they had him in like electric neon swim shorts.
Really?
Yeah, so I think it was like because people were like making fun of it, and I'm like, no, it's so that if any of it sneaks on camera, it looks stupid. So you go, oh no, okay, we need to frame it a bit higher, frame it a bit lower,
Right.
zoom in, whatever. But yeah, it's just funny seeing him like in a bar looking gigantic, holding a guy, and he's wearing like these awful bloody swim trunks. You're like, well, you don't expect him to just fully hang dong, so fair enough. But like, I love that scene. That was the
It's
first time
so
I ever
good.
saw a woman with like a septum piercing and heavy ear. That's who I am now. I become her. I've assumed her identity. But I would like, as a kid, I'd like pause and try and read what they all say, like
All of
endomorph, and I'm like, oh, what's that? And
yeah.
it's like, well, an endomorph is a human being because that's the way our body regulates temperature. I think
Oh
I could
right.
be
Okay.
wrong. I'm probably going to get like death threats, which is fine, but. And like like looking the guy up and down, and like when he blows smoke in his face, it's like carcinogenic material detected, like flicks up, and I'm like, and you have to do that. I'm looking at that, going, you would have had to have keyframed that,
Mm.
like how it kind of like meshes over the guy's like
Yeah, all that
measurements.
animate it and everything,
Yeah, and
right?
I'm like, that would have taken a month
Right.
to do. Like that's crazy, and just it's. I think the interesting thing about it is because obviously within the movie it has to pretend that you don't know what you're watching, you don't
Mm.
know that this is a Terminator, so they have to kind of like, there's a little bit of a coy kind of like, we need to make him seem a bit human. So in the first one, the second one, it mirrors a lot of the same kind of beats, like I was like, does he ask for the clothes in the first one? I'm not sure he does
I can't
actually.
remember what, because it's Bill Paxton, isn't it? That the
Yeah,
punks that he goes up and beats up, because
yeah,
they just have a go. He assaults him, I think, and
yeah.
maybe that starts the fight.
Because like he just goes up and stands in front of them, and they're like, you good?" Which, to be fair, if a gigantic naked Austrian just stands in front of you naked, then you would be like, can I help you? Do you want to know where the bus stop is?
He's clearly
Like,
making a statement, I think, at
yeah,
that point, right?
yeah. And I think, was it, is it in that one, Arnie's stunt double is like, he's like in Reanimator, I
Right.
think. Yeah, he's like there's like a big scary dude in Reanimator who was actually Arnie's body. I can't
Oh,
remember.
wow, I didn't know that.
I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure. But yeah, and like it is just very. I remember even to this day, I'm kind of like sitting there going, I can't assess the injuries. It's like, did he punch him through his chest and out the other side? I can't. What's happening? I'm not sure. I know that they're dead, but why?
It's just it's just extreme brutality,
It's
isn't
just
it?
it's
Yeah.
very 80s violence where
Yeah.
it's like you hear a like noise, and then he's just like, the favorite part was though when you see him lifting the dude up, it films his feet, kind of showing you how strong he is. And because Arnie's holding something, his toes are kind of going like all, and I'm like, that's kind of cute. He's just like trying to balance him, and I'm like, okay, yeah, Skynet's really good at that, and it's not funny. It's fine. But yeah, and just oh I do love it.
Well, I mean, another just a sort of, well, final thought, I suppose, for both films. Actually, the score is really good. Like, I think the
Mm,
score in Monty Python and the Holy Grail, when they actually are on the quest, is actually a really good, like,
yeah.
propulsive kind of heroic score for knights. And
Mm,
then the just all of Terminator 2's, like, Brad Feidel's score is
mm.
just immense.
Incredible. Like, I mean, they really went with, because I mean, like, comparing it to Terminator 1, the music was so of the time in Terminator 1. It was very kind of synthy and just
Tech noir.
someone face rolling a Casio keyboard, and that was it. And yeah, the clothes of the time again, which means it ages appallingly. But
Mm.
yeah, Terminator 2 is just like, it's a lot of classical kind of things, like the classic. It's like it's just like with a big not choir. Oh, I don't know. I completely forgotten. Orchestra.
Right.
There we go. Like a big orchestra and stuff like that. It's just, it makes it incredible.
Yeah.
And it's so perfect. And it's, yeah, the music in both of them was so good. And like, I'm shocked with how little money Holy Grail had, that they managed to get, like, the do. It's like, it's so it's like, if you just hear that, you instantly know the setting, you know what's happening, you know who you're following, you know who the heroes are.
Yeah.
Bam, it's hitting every note quite literally, and it just works really well. And I'm like, okay, because I remember hearing somewhere that the big like Trojan bunny they made was like one of the most expensive props, and I'm like, that's like the most expensive thing. I could be fully wrong,
Right.
and I'm sitting there going, then they must have spent the rest on music and spray paint to spray paint the wool like chainmail they had knitted.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's like, okay, interesting.
Yeah. I mean, both great music to play Warhammer by, I think.
Very,
Yeah,
very
it
much
works
so.
really
Yeah.
well.
Mm.
Have you, just out of interest, have you seen Terminator 2 3D?
I
The
have.
ride that they did?
I saw that
Did you
at the
go to
cinema.
it?
Yeah, I
Oh,
did.
amazing.
It was
Fantastic.
it was pretty well done, but like, I mean, I this is a joke I have that, like, because I have seen, there's like three releases of Terminator 2, I believe. I could be wrong.
Oh, right. So the
Um,
actual movie, the Terminator
the
2
actual,
movie, right?
yeah, I think four, including 3D. I
Right.
think
Oh,
because there's
okay.
like special edition, and then the director's cut, and then like just a standard theatrical cut, which I always prefer the theatrical cut
Right.
myself, because I think, I don't know, I think I love leaving things a bit blank, because
Right.
I love kind of extract, like, in my brain, like, yeah, there's a scene from Terminator 2 that was cut where, because what I love is when the T-1000 first goes to John's foster house, his dog is going bananas. Like, all the dogs are barking. And that's a big thing in Terminator 1 is that dogs, they use dogs to sense Terminators because they don't like them, they bark at them. And like you could just be like, because they don't mention it or anything, it's just the dog is barking. And you're like, huh, you just doesn't register. And then yeah, when there's like he's impersonating his foster mother, the dog is barking and he's like, what is wrong with like that damn dog, you know? And then you kind of stop and you go, oh wait. And then yeah, and she's being too nice, and you know, and like in the extended, I think it's the extended one or the director's cut, where he walks outside and the dog's
and he
barking,
kills the dog,
and he kills the dog, and he looks at the thing and he goes, the dog's name is Max, and
yeah,
I'm like, I think it's scarier and more interesting if at that point it just goes, I've been made.
sure,
Okay.
yeah. I
Because
do like the smile though. There's a deleted scenes about Arnie
where
learning
he's
to
trying
smile,
to
which were very funny. I feel like.
I think that's really funny because it reminds me of, because I've done like, you know, I did video game development at college, and it reminded me of when you apply a mesh to an inappropriate skeleton.
Right.
So it's like if you've ever seen Pika Man from Smash Bros, where somebody applied Pikachu's mesh and textures to Captain Falcon. So you've got like it's terrifying. It's an eldritch abomination. So my brain was going, so he's watching this other guy smile, but he's got a different shaped face. And his, you know, so I'm like, well, that wouldn't work on him. And then he's like, you know, he does like the really awkward smile. I'm like, maybe practice in front of a mirror. And it's like, I think that's cool. And I think it's funny, but I'm still like, I still not don't really think it's necessary. I think the best one is where he pulls out the minigun and just
I mean,
like
which is a great little payoff to that scene, though. Of like, it takes something, it then it humanizes him a little bit, I suppose.
Yeah,
so it shows that he's grown.
Oh, and then like when you get to the Cyberdyne building, and he's like takes the minigun out, and he's like, "Hey, you swore," and he smiles a bit, and he's like, "Trust me," you know, and he like actually gives him a proper smile, and it's like, oh, he's learning.
Yeah.
Oh, we love him. We love to see it. I will say, okay, I bitch about this all the time. And I know it's a bugbear, but I have to complain. Terminator 3. All of that movie's faults, the biggest one I have is there's a part where the T-800 is like, it gets knocked into like a car and shuts down temporarily. And there's like a cop who tries to pull him off, like grab his jacket, and he can't lift him. And I'm like, the Terminator T-800, T-600, the Terminator Infiltration Unit combat chassis are explicitly made of titanium, which is the same kind of thing that you get in implants. You get implant-grade titanium in human, because it is similar density and strength to human bone. That is also quite a light metal. So if anything, he's going to weigh maybe an extra 100 pounds if we're being fancy. Right. And that is the most nerdy loser nitpick I have. And I will never shut up about it, but I know it is the stupidest thing. And that bugs me when they do that. Because I'm like, if he was so heavy that a fully grown adult man heaving at him couldn't even shift him, how can he ride a bike without blowing out the suspension?
Yeah, I often think about this with Wolverine, though, because he's supposed to be very heavy, apparently. And he's riding bikes around everywhere.
They did that in... there's that awful one with Liv Schreiber in it.
Oh, well, yeah, we definitely shouldn't talk about X-Men Origins Wolverine because that's a whole other conversation.
Betrayal. And like the way he sits on the bike and I'm like, look, can we just please retcon adamantium to be like titanium? Or like you could just say it's magic, like the Predators, like the Yautja's like little firing spear from like Predator 2, and it's like, oh, then the woman's like, this is barely any weight to it. I'm like, can we just say it's space magic?
Yeah,
it's like science magic. You're allowed to do that. That's fine. Just don't sit there and go, wow, he's literally made of lead. And you're like, don't, just shut up. It's like, I love it how it's like time travel. Yeah, it's fine. You know, AI that wants to murder you and can create literally like indistinguishable, like infiltration units that like they grow skin and hair for. That's fine. Oh, but this guy being too heavy. Worst movie. I'm going to do a 6-hour rant video on YouTube where I just threaten everyone on the production staff. I don't care.
I think it would get a lot of clicks.
Just because they were like, there's no way she's... Oh, no.
She
is.
I mentioned just before the 3D, but did you know that the James Cameron directed like a 3D segment for a Universal Studios ride?
I have seen bits of that
Right.
actually. I think Web went on it,
Oh,
and I'm like,
really?
yeah. So I was like, rubbing his arm trying to get the particles. But yeah, like yeah, it's basically like because Americans are amazing at their theme parks. The whole, even if you're waiting in line, they try and entertain you. It's
Sure.
incredible, and so they have the signs up going. It's like here at Cyberdyne, we believe that technology. All these kind of like it's just like corporate kind of like look how good we are, and then it gets to like a tour, and then they have the actors come in and be like, it's like Sarah and John being like, "Oh, you need to get out. Oh no, don't take the ride. You're about to start being on." And then he goes, and like, oh, was it like the T-1000 that
Right.
looked like a giant spider or something? I can't remember. But
Right.
yeah, and I'm
Right.
like, that's a fun kind of little.
It's a great idea,
Like,
right?
I would have loved to have gone
I would
have
have
gone on
liked to have
that.
seen
It
it.
would have been
Yeah.
amazing.
I think it's on YouTube. You can like someone's recorded
Yeah.
the show, so you can still see it. But
Mm,
yeah, it definitely feels like I mean, again, kind of its time in a way, but
mm.
I bet it would be so much fun to
Oh
to
yeah.
to go on that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
But
there's that new game coming out, like a little side scroller.
oh, really? Well, there's new Terminator
Yes, it's like a
game.
Terminator 2, like
Oh, fun.
side scroll, and I'm like, I can't remember what it is. It's called it's like a pun on No Fate or something like that. I can't remember what it is, but it is like a pixelated kind of like shooter, like, and I don't really like those kind of games, but I'm like, but I'm getting this one. My biggest problem is that it's being released in like September, and I'm like, why not August 29th,
Right,
which
right,
is
of course.
Judgment Day? Like, why not that?
Yeah.
And like I think like the new like the snake like the Snake Eater Delta, or like Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater remake is being released closer to the actual significant. And I'm like, what? Like, come on.
Yeah,
If that were
definitely missed opportunity.
yeah, to be fair, like, I would recommend looking at, because like it looks amazing. Like they've just like there's one of like the T-1000 like shaking his like finger at you, and I'm like, this looks so good. And I think you play as like adult John,
Right.
like a little bit. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's real cool. I don't think they got Arnie's likeness because who could afford it? But but yeah, no, that was
Well,
cool.
let me ask you this final question then before we wrap
Sure.
up. So, do you think you'll watch Terminator 2 or Monty Python and the Holy Grail again in your adventures through cinema?
I would probably not Monty Python, because I've seen it
Hmm.
and it's good. But Terminator, I've watched that at least like 40 times
Mhm.
probably, and I'm gonna watch it another 40. So it's not if I watch it again, it's when. And if Webb can deal with me pausing it every 5 minutes, going, "Do you know in this scene that this happens?" So yeah, absolutely. I love Terminator 2 so much.
Yeah, well, they're fantastic, right? And that, yeah,
So good.
absolutely brilliant. Well, Snipe, thank you so much for joining me. It's been a fantastic chat, and I've really enjoyed
Yeah,
it.
no. It's been so much fun. Thank you so much for letting me come and just gush nerdily at you.
That's what this podcast is all about, so that's absolutely fine.
At least I'm doing it in the correct place.
Thank you for joining me and my fabulous guest Snipe from Snipe and Wib. If you would like to support the show, you can join patreon.com/Jordan Sorcery, where you'll get early access and exclusive content, including a research article about the links between Monty Python and Warhammer history. Tune in next time as Mike Hutchinson from Planet Smasher Games joins me to talk Time Bandits and Ken Russell's The Devils.